The internet is on fire. Crazy controversy is racking Warhammer 40,000. Brother is fighting brother. Cousin is fighting cousin. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do about this? Guys, there's basically what's happening is, in my opinion, a huge overreaction. But I'm going to give you all the details and let you figure it out for yourself. So basically, there's always going to be tons of complaints whenever you get a new detachment or a new army. People are going to cry, broken, unbalanced, the game can't be played. And honestly, in the past, I'll admit I've been guilty of being that person. I've been turning over a new leaf, and I've been trying to think that honestly, Games Workshop's pretty good at what they do, especially in 10th edition. Previously, you can make arguments, but in 10th edition, they've been releasing pretty good stuff, and they've been very quick to nerf the interactions that just are overpowered. So basically, all the controversy that's happening right now is centered around the More Dakka detachment. If you guys don't know, the More Dakka detachment had a very good first weekend in tournaments. It came out at approximately a 67% win rate, which is pretty high, not nearly as high as some other detachments have done, but it is actually pretty darn high. And there is a picture going across that shows the top 3 places of a recent super major that was capped off by Manny Chima, Brian Sipey, and I'm sorry, off memory, I can't remember the third player's name. Sorry, bud. I'm sure you're an amazing player as well. I just can't remember your name. And they all took place, first, second, and third, all playing More Dakka. And so now everyone's saying now More Dakka is the most overpowered thing that Games Workshop has ever released, and they are all 100% wrong. That doesn't mean that it's not overpowered. That doesn't mean it doesn't need to get nerfed. So here's the deal. We're going to go through bans and how bans actually operate, because there's actually even tournaments that are currently banning this detachment. That's how much this detachment is currently hated. We're going to go through a lot of data and a lot of information on how bans work and what win rates should approximately be, and I'm going to piss off a lot of neckbeards. So basically, here's the deal, guys. People feel it's overpowered. Reddit and Facebook is going freaking crazy. And I just got to know, is this a rational response for us to have? I don't really think it is. But here we go. Here's some examples of tournaments that are actually banning this detachment from practice. You have the Alpine Cup, which is run by some of the same people who are responsible for the WTC, or the World Team Championships. So currently, they're saying that Orcs should not be, or More Dakka should not be allowed to be played because it's too powerful. These are the same people who allowed on-release Eldar to be played in 10th edition. And if anyone even pretends to make the argument that More Dakka is as overpowered as on-release Eldar was, just go ahead and slap yourself in the face, because you're dumb. And that's a stupid argument to make. So these people were totally fine with that. They were totally fine with T-Suns when T-Suns were super powerful. They're totally fine with Deathwatch. They've been fine with basically everything, but More Dakka, which is weaker than literally every single one of those other armies when they were originally released, is a problem. So I think it's stupid, but it is what it is. You've got the competitive 40k thread on Facebook, and they're saying 82%. Oh my gosh, this is too big of a problem. There's too much of a discrepancy here. You've got Glasshammer events over in the UK, which are currently banning More Dakka from all their events. I do find this one particularly hilarious, as Manny Chima, the guy who is in charge of Glasshammer, which, by the way, super nice guy. Actually, shout out to him. I've enjoyed every interaction I've ever had with him. He did just win a super major with More Dakka, and now he's banning it from his events. I do think that's pretty funny. Maybe it's because he had his experience. He's like, oh, no one could counter me, if we're trying to be gracious with our interpretations. But I just think that's freaking funny. So let's talk about some other armies that have been released at a very high win rate, and why were they not banned, but More Dakka is getting banned. So let's just give you some examples. These are all going to be examples of 60+% win rates on release in 10th edition. Legion of Excess, when they dropped, they had a 70% win rate. And interestingly enough, they had 96 games that were reported. When they had 441 games reported, they were at a 67% win rate. When they had 696 games reported, they were at a 66% win rate. So one of the interesting things that you see here is that when an army is overperforming, even if it is too powerful, which Legion of Excess was too powerful, and by the way, More Dakka is also too powerful, the win rate goes down after a few weeks, because you need more data. The way these weekends work is you can have a weekend where Seer Council, for example, is at a 76% win rate. Guys, does Seer Council need to be nerfed? No. And everyone who thinks it does should just stop it. You have weekends where freaking Chaos Cults has a 70% win rate. Does Chaos Cults need to be nerfed? No, they don't. That's a silly argument to make. When you have low amounts of games, and the people who are playing the detachments tend to be generally only people who really like the detachment, which does make you think that they tend to be better players, it can make really skewed data doesn't actually mean very much. But as we get more games played, that's when we start to realize, okay, this is real. This actually is overpowered. So for example, Solar Spearhead, when they first came out, they had a 70% win rate with 23 games played, which sounds absolutely insane. But when they got to 545 games played, they had dropped down to a 56% win rate. Still too strong, and they still needed a little bit of nerf. I think they got a little over nerfed personally, but they needed a little bit of a nerf. Bridgehead Strike is another great example of this. They were at 63 with percent win rate with 60 games played, 62 with 466, 60% with 796. So as people play more games, what happens is the meta shifts, and people learn how to play against these detachments, even if they are a little too strong, and they play better into them. Even on-release Eldar from 10th edition, of course, we're in 10th edition, on-release Eldar, which had a 71% win rate when there were only 388 games reported, were dropped down to a 68% win rate with 2,857 games played. Now, that's a lot of data that is showing that meta does adapt to them. Now, does that mean that they didn't need to be nerfed? No. But interestingly enough, even after we knew for a fact with 2,857 games played at a 68% win rate, which is currently higher than More Dakka, Battle Host was never banned from tournaments. People were never calling for banning Battle Host, which honestly, I would have probably supported banning Battle Host because they were so busted. I actually probably would have gotten behind that one. And if people were saying it's because, oh, well, orcs are my army and I don't want my army to get banned. Dude, I don't even play More Dakka. I play Warhorde. I'm not switching at all because I think More Dakka is worse than Warhorde. So don't even at me with that one. But this is causing quite a bunch of interesting things that are occurring. So you're even starting to get gimmick tournaments. So for example, if we look at Gothic Games Canterbury, shout out, I have no idea who these people are, but I think it's funny. They're saying, oh, are you tired of people banning the More Dakka? Well, if you sign up for my April or July RTTs by Wednesday, 26th of March, and play with the More Dakka detachment, you're going to receive 10 euros back, or 15 if you, or not euros, sorry, pounds. 10 pounds back, or 15 if you feel to stomp up, which is absolutely hilarious, and I approve. So hats off to you, dear sir. Basically, what I'm saying is this is becoming a gimmick, and it's becoming such a internet thing, which is just, oh my gosh, it's so much. So the question is, why ban orcs when you don't ban other armies? Are we just not allowed to have good performing armies now? Because I don't think that's correct. I do think that Games Workshop has 100% proven that in 10th edition, they actually are paying attention to the meta. And one of the really nice things they're doing is they want the game to be healthy. So they are constantly nerfing these overperforming detachments and bringing them into line with all of the other armies in the game. The actual game has an amazing amount of balance, and Games Workshop is just continuously doing this. Now, for every other army in 10th edition, we have allowed Games Workshop just to fix it. So when Star Shatter Arsenal was released for the Grotmans detachments, Games Workshop fixed it within 2 weeks. No one said ban Star Shatter Arsenal. They were just fixed because Games Workshop saw, hey, this is probably a little bit overtuned. We're going to adjust this. Whenever Deathwatch had the combination where you could combine their ammunition stratagems and you could do like 60 mortal wounds on whatever target you wanted, Games Workshop fixed that within like 2 days. So we are allowing overpowered stuff to be addressed by Games Workshop. But in this circumstance, in this case, why are we wanting to ban orcs? Well, honestly, for me, when I see it, I think what's happening is sustained hits 2 is such a scary sounding thing that is making people react very emotionally and not logically. And they're saying, oh, sustained hits 2 must be the most broken, overpowered thing ever. Well, not really, especially not with an army that has 0 access to rerolls except for 1 unit that hits on 6's base. I mean, so if you guys saw my math video where I break down the math of More Dakka, there are scenarios where the math can get pretty nutty. But sustained hits 2 is not even the problem for the detachment. The problem is actually your Zodgrod interaction, where you get the free scout move for the 9-hit scout move and then Wa'ing turn 1 without having to declare the Wa on a unit that can just jail any army in the game. That is really more the issue, which is one of the things that needs to get nerfs. But guys, the only time I've ever seen an army ever get truly banned, it was Votann for on release in 9th edition. And if you guys were around for that time, well, that might have actually been warranted. There were some German tournaments that had started banning Leagues of Votann before they were even released because the rules were that obnoxious and the points were that unbelievably cheap for them. So, okay, fair play on that one. But that's the only time I've ever seen an army banned, interestingly enough. So guys, here's the deal. Whenever you're like hearing people cry on the internet and they're just saying that everything is ending, the world is over, this is just the internet talking. I love Warhammer 40,000, and if you're watching this video, you probably love Warhammer 40,000. So I highly recommend that you just spend your time loving Warhammer and figuring out how to play the game better. Don't bitch and moan and complain about every single detail. Like, I swear, when I talk to some of these people, or when I actually just read the comments, and when I read Reddit, I just hear people like, why are you even playing Warhammer? You hate this game. Like, this is the worst thing in your life. Why are you doing this? So when you get presented with something like the More Dakka, what I recommend you do is I recommend you work on your problem solving skills. You understand that they will get nerfed because Games Workshop has proven that they will nerf it. And God, this is the last time I'm saying it. I support a nerf for More Dakka. Jesus. That's the last time. It made me freaking blaspheme. That's the last time I'm going to say it. But you can understand that Games Workshop is going to nerf them. But in the meantime, this is a great opportunity for us to work on our problem-solving skills. Because when you learn how to problem-solve these overpowered armies like this, now you're going to get really good at problem-solving other armies that are just good and not overpowered. This is going to serve you immensely more as you're playing the game, and you're going to have a lot more fun as you develop your own strategic thinking for the game, as opposed to just developing your ability to cry on the internet. So, guys, don't freak out about your overperforming armies. If you're really that worried about it, don't play that army. And then wait for Games Workshop to nerf them, and then enjoy your life. Now, if you want to go to tournaments in the meantime, put on your critical thinking cap and figure out how can you counter that army. And if you want help countering More Dakka, I've got a video out on how to counter More Dakka. And if you follow that advice, you're going to be fine into it. I followed that advice, and I am currently, I believe it is 10-1 into More Dakka. So I've got 10 wins and 1 loss into it. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to be that way because, like I said, it is a strong army. So basically, I'm just blaming us YouTubers for all this annoying Warhammer 40k drama because people on YouTube are really amplifying Reddit, Facebook, and all these other areas that are just having kind of unrealistic and really bad takes on the game. So we're talking about it, and that's what makes it worse. So I just wanted to give a different perspective here. Not, oh, the world is ending, this army's too strong, but like, just freaking chill out because Games Workshop's going to fix it, and they have fixed basically everything. And in the meantime, this overpowered army actually has counterplay. So let's put our energy into figuring out how to beat the crap out of it so that we become better players. That's the mission of Happy Crumpin' Wargaming, and it will always be the mission of Happy Crumpin' Wargaming, is to enjoy our wargame while we figure out how to just play it freaking better. So with that, I'm going to take off, and I do believe I promised some people a move blocking video, so that's probably going to be coming out either tomorrow or it might have to be Saturday, just depending on the schedule, because coaching is filling up pretty quick. So with that, have a great freaking day. Crump on. Bye-bye.